Hey, KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra here at KUsports.com. Thanks for checking us out. Matt Tate, joined by Tom Keegan in a balmy January. Tom, what do you think? I mean, I know you got the bright yellow going. Is that any correlation between that and this incredibly nice weather we're having?
No, my closet's dark, and
Okay.
when I reach into it, I just pull out a shirt, and then I find out what color it is. And I hope that my pants match.
Okay, fair enough. What temperature do you think you're going with in the closet there? Room temperature?
No, it's colder,
66?
probably.
Okay, not bad. Would you play golf in there? Yeah.
I mean, yes. I almost said something else.
Wow. This got serious right there. There's like a waterfall sound right there. All right, well, anyway, we're going to jump right into the good news for KU, and it clearly is that with a huge victory over Oklahoma on Big Monday, the Jayhawks, at least temporarily or for right now or even for their own heads, have kind of reclaimed control of the Big 12 conference race. They're tied with Iowa State at the top at 4-1.
Co-control. But you know that they haven't played. Iowa State hasn't played here yet, and
Right.
Kansas has played in Ames.
Right, and more importantly than that, it's obviously only 5 games into the Big 12 schedule, but I think the victory over a very good Oklahoma team that they very easily could have lost after that collapse kind of just settled things down again. And
They finished great, and it's far from the first time they've finished a game great.
Right.
That's always good news.
I think those guys left that game feeling like, okay, we're back to where we need to be. That was huge. So what a game, though. You've written a lot about it even after the game. What's just the thing that you're going to take away from that?
That it was, to me, it reminded me a little of the North Carolina Final Four
Yeah,
game.
you wrote that.
That Kansas came out just on fire. North Carolina State bounced back. North Carolina, I should say, bounced back, did a great job coming back, and then Kansas just finished strong.
Yeah, it wasn't 40-12, but it may as well have been. I mean, the 8 3-pointers in a row, one shy of tying a school record for consecutive makes and a half. I mean, it's a remarkable thing. It really was like a contagious thing happening out there. Everybody wanted to get a shot up because they all knew they were going in.
Right.
Yeah, it was wild.
And that is contagious, man, because you just relax when you know everyone else is hot. Well, why don't I join the act?
Even the one that Graham hit, I don't remember which one it was, maybe the 8th one, off the back iron, 8 feet in the air, and then straight down without even moving the net. That's when you kind of knew it was KU's night. Great game, though. It was a fantastic finish. And
well, a lot of guarded shots were hit.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're watching a good basketball game.
Definitely. What's
Isaiah
bad news?
Cousins. Bad news is
Sorry, Isaiah.
that there's one more reason, and even though this one's a bit of a reach issue, it's a reach, but there's one more reason that people have to endure Matt Tate talking about the Denver Broncos. As if it wasn't enough.
Awful news.
That they already had Chris Harris, Johnson, and Aqib Talib, and now their coach is Gary Kubiak, whose son Clint recently was hired as the wide receivers coach. So you're going to have to read and listen to him talk about on podcasts and on KU Sports Extra the Broncos. Sorry, there's not much I can do. Those are legitimate KU types.
I'm just covering the hell out of my beat is what I'm doing.
The Broncos beat.
Yeah, well, you know. No, but Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, Darryl Stuckey, all
Pro
three
Bowl.
in the Pro Bowl.
Good news.
Yeah, real good news. Chris Harris is actually taking control of the KU football Twitter account and will be tweeting from Arizona. It's his first Pro Bowl, so you know he's going to be fired up. He's really good on Twitter anyway. If you haven't followed him already, go follow Chris Harris because he's entertaining anyway. But once he's got control of that account, representing KU football with the 2 guys that played next to him in that Orange Bowl back in the glory days, Chris is going to be on fire down there in Arizona. So good news there. Is there any KU bad news? I mean, I know that was a little bit there, but let's get away from the Broncos, your beloved Broncos, Tom.
I got to tell you, this would be a great time for Kansas to carry its momentum in basketball that it got from a good performance against Oklahoma.
Right.
But you're running smack dab into what I think is the worst matchup in the Big 12 for Kansas, and it is a reach issue, a size issue. This is the type of team that can give Kansas a lot of trouble down low. Texas, it's on the road. Kansas didn't play well in Austin last year. I think this is a tough game.
I agree. Saturday, 1 p.m. down there in Austin, KU against Texas. Always a great matchup, but should be even more intense this year. Myles Turner makes it that way. Not only does he bring that length that you're talking about, but he picked Texas over Kansas. That always adds a little subplot, even if it doesn't mean much to the coaches or the players themselves. The fans get into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of fans from all fan bases. I'm not picking on the Kansas fan base here.
This time.
Maybe I am. But they like to find a reason to hate a guy for picking another school, and
Right.
they just start trashing him. And LeBron Nash made it easy, let's face it, with his ridiculous press conference.
The hat.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he was asked, why the hat? I just thought if I put this on, it would make me a tremendous person.
A tremendous person.
I didn't find him to be a
That's
tremendous
right.
person when they were in Allen Fieldhouse. He was disrespectful.
Glaring at the refs and stuff.
Yeah, and
and
yelling
whining.
at the KU coaches. And
Let me interrupt you, though. Have you ever encountered him before he put on that hat?
No.
So you don't know.
Yeah, maybe it did make him a
tremendous
tremendous
person.
Tremendous person. So how did I get off on that?
Yeah.
Oh, Myles Turner.
Right.
With Myles Turner, he gave you nothing to dislike him. He just made it hurt worse when you saw what a nice kid he is.
Right.
And he's a good player and a guy you can't help but wish well for his long basketball career. But he adds to the issues here. But Cam Ridley makes this a tough game. Jonathan Holmes, they just are a better team. You knew they'd start playing once Isaiah Taylor got incorporated again, and his wrist maybe is healing better. And
Sure.
this is a tough game for Kansas. This would be a really big win.
Oh, it'd be huge. They have a ton of talent. I mean, those guys you just mentioned are 1, 2, 3, 4 on that list probably. So
Holland
big
played
game.
great last year.
Yeah, big game, and it's weird because that environment, that atmosphere is not really that nasty. But obviously, whenever Kansas comes to town, it just kind of takes on that life. And there was a press release sent out begging Texas fans to be sure you're in your seats by 12:45 p.m. And that's because this game's on CBS, and that's because they don't want their stadium or arena looking empty 15 minutes before tip-off. It probably won't be, and maybe they didn't have to tell them, but it's
You know
always
what they
funny to
should
me.
do if they have that fear? They ought to just play their spring football game before the basketball game.
There you go. Like on the court?
Yeah, because then the place would be packed.
Yeah, that'd be wild. Charlie Strong out there, bullhorn, yelling at people. 3-point stance near the 3-point line.
Looking for a quarterback.
That'd be special. Yeah, he still is doing that. All right, well, let's move on to statistically speaking. And we've done this twice. It's a little exercise to just make sure we're keeping track of all the relevant and maybe irrelevant KU stats. One good stat, one bad stat, one player. We've done Brandon Green so far. You gave me Jamari Traylor last week. I'm going to go easy on you. I don't want to go too far before we get to this guy anyway, and I know you love him. So how about Frank Mason? Good stat, bad stat for Frank.
Well, I do study his stats frequently because they're just terrific.
Right.
It's hard to find a bad one, but the good one right off the bat, 47% three-point shooter. I mean, that's just terrific.
Tremendous.
Tremendous.
Without a hat.
Yes, tremendous. Now, I don't know if you could say this is a bad stat, but I can't think of any other bad stats for Frank. His last 0 turnover game was against Rhode Island, and he had 2 0 turnover games in the first 4 games of the season. As much as he handles the ball, you wouldn't expect him to have a lot of 0 turnover games, but it's been that long.
Yeah, wow. That is an interesting stat, especially because this is a guy that's been playing 38, 39, 40 minutes a game.
Right, so it's kind of hard.
You give him 4 or 5 assists to the 1 turnover, no harm, no foul there. But, hey, you got to find something, right?
Yeah, and he's had he had back-to-back 3 turnover games recently.
We were looking at those stats the other day. He and Wayne Selden have taken the exact same number of shots.
And 22 more, I believe,
And
that
Frank Mason has
has
made
hit.
22 more. 77 of 159, I believe it is, for Frank. And 55 of 159
That's amazing.
For Selden. So,
And they both shoot a lot of threes, so it's
Yeah.
not like that's, corrupting the stats there.
right. I always think it's fascinating, too, when it's exactly the same number. I mean,
Yeah.
we're 18 games into the season. It could have been 160 and 158 or whatever. But when it's exactly the same number, I don't know why that blows my mind. It's not hard to do.
And it's exactly the same game that Brandon Green had his first missed free throw and his first steal of the season. That first steal was very underrated. Nobody talked about it.
You did.
I did.
But that was the best. I don't know if we'll ever top that, statistically speaking, with the steals and missed free throws. Amazing numbers. But let's move on. We've talked a ton about KU at Texas on Saturday. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Who's going to win, Tom?
I think Texas is going to win this game simply because of the size issue and having the home court advantage. And they're a team that has some space to make up, some ground to make up here. And they're playing better. I like Texas. This is going to be a tough game for Kansas to win.
Couldn't agree more. I've got Texas by 5. A game maybe a little closer throughout, but similar to Iowa State. I just think KU is going to find itself down and just uphill the whole time, trying to find a way to get it figured out. I think Taylor's the difference. I think KU struggles to guard guys like him in the half court, and he showed that last year, certainly. He was amazing down there against KU, and if he has that kind of confidence from that game, he could be in for a big game. Let's go with your primetime pick in that one, though, that regardless of the outcome, there's going to be a KU player or 2 or 3 that plays well. Who will it be in your mind? Oh, no. Oh, no. This guy was into so much trouble last week. Although it brought some nice weather, so, the yellow shirt, the head thing, Genie. Is that what you're doing? You're waiting for Genie to pop out of a bottle? Or?
Oh, that's Gary Beddore's territory. He's the one who knows personally Barbara Eden, a great Kansas basketball fan.
That's right. Primetime pick.
Primetime pick. We're gonna go with. I'm stalling here. I'm gonna go with Perry Ellis.
Against all odds, a little bit.
Yeah, because they're playing against so much size and everything. But I think he'll be smart enough not to get in foul trouble and I don't know. It's not a great pick, but he's just playing well.
Yeah, he's playing well. Much more energy, effort, intensity, all those things. Maybe those things against that length will lead to better days for Perry if he can bring that. I don't think it's a terrible pick. It is surprising, though.
Yeah.
And leave it to Tom Keegan. Surprises are his middle name. Or wait, is that right?
No, that's the name of the town in Arizona.
I always mix that up.
Is that where the Royals train?
Yeah, right. Speaking of Royals, never mind.
Joseph's my middle name.
Let's get back to the Broncos real quick. Okay. No, my primetime pick is Frank Mason, our statistically speaking stud this week. I think this is a game, has written all over it, the kind of game that Frank Mason plays really well to keep KU in the game for as long as they can.
Yeah. I say that Kansas will lose because they'll have trouble with all the size, and then I pick Perry Ellis, who will be outsized. He says that Isaiah Taylor is the reason Texas is going to win, and then he picks the man who will be guarding Isaiah Taylor.
You can't get this kind of insight anywhere else. That's why you keep coming back.
Eeny, meeny.
Yeah, and we appreciate it. Of course we do. But I'm thinking offensive end, maybe. Let's go there. I'll clarify that. And
we're both just talking out.
Yeah.
Out of our mouths.
Fair enough. All right, well, we're going to jump into the reader comments. Last week, we asked you guys to send in some comments, whether that's on Facebook or the comments section here or Twitter, and we did get one from a young man or maybe an old man. He didn't put his age, but Sean Getman. He says, you mentioned that Bill Self coaches to his players through the media, and I was hoping you could elaborate a little more on not only when he has done that, but as well as how often players respond on the court in the following games. You've talked a lot about this, so I'll let you take it. But thanks for your question, Sean.
Well, I think that Bill Self knows that his players are in the world, and so he knows that he will get quoted, not just in the stories that the players may or may not read online, but on the radio sound bites that they may or may not hear, on TV before they're hooking up their PlayStations or whatever, the Nintendo or whatever the game of choice this decade is, that they may see him saying something. So Bill Self said, Perry is on the verge, talking about Perry Ellis. Next 2 games, he's the Perry Ellis of old. The right button to push with Perry Ellis then was confidence. The right button to push with Cliff Alexander was
sending a message?
Yeah,
right.
By benching him in the second half, playing time, using that motivational character. He comes back the next game. Very predictably, has a great game, 13 points, 13 rebounds. He just knows how to push buttons, and sometimes he uses the media to push them.
No doubt about it. I think you can answer this, obviously, with your own thoughts and in your own opinion, because there may not be a right answer here. But I think maybe what Sean was wondering, too, is why doesn't he just go up to Perry Ellis and say that at practice? Or why doesn't he just pull him aside afterward? Why does he decide?
I'm sure he's saying the same things.
Okay.
But it's cool to have it said publicly, too.
It gets headlines. It gets people read it all over the world. Whatever,
so that makes it even louder. It amplifies it, whether it's a message of the negative variety or of the confidence-building variety.
Yeah, it's a Bill Self tactic. A lot of good coaches use it, but it's one that he uses as well as anybody.
Yeah.
And he always has, and I'm sure he always will. And, this team has played, 18 games now. It's getting toward the home stretch a little bit, but there's still a lot of work to do, and he's clearly still working his butt off to shape this team into something that by the time February rolls around and March could legitimately be a contender. Plenty of work to do, but he's definitely given it all he's got, and gosh, he's had a lot of work to do, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's a young team, and I remember it sticks in my head that early in the year he said they're a young team.
Yeah, right.
Some young guys are older young guys. They're young guys.
No doubt. All right, obnoxious. Let's move on to obnoxious man in sports. Who's your most obnoxious man in sports this week?
Well, there's a girls' high school basketball coach in a Royal Hills High School, I believe it's called.
It's always a great place to start. Girls' high school basketball. This is awesome.
San Bernardino, California, was playing against Bloomington High School. And the final score of the game was 161-2.
Pause. 161-2. Big bucket, whoever got that 2 points for the losing team.
Well, it was 2 free throws, one in each half. The halftime score was
that's priceless.
102-1. Pause. 102 to 1
to 1 at halftime. What do you think the adjustments they were talking about in that locker room were? I mean, well, obviously they worked. They only gave up 59 points in the second half.
Yeah, I think the adjustment was get back on defense. Maybe they even went back to the youth girls basketball from when I was a kid where they'd have 3 players on offense and 2 on defense.
Yeah.
Could be they did that because they decided if we're going to catch up here, we know we can't score on them, so we're just going to try to keep them from scoring, which won't let you catch up, but it'll maintain the status quo. The coach was suspended after the outcry over the results, and he has some time to think about whether he's coaching girls' high school basketball or in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think during that time he'll realize where he's coaching and maybe not humiliate the girls from Bloomington High and teach the girls from Arroyo, what did I say it was, Arroyo Valley or something like that?
Sure.
Teach them that you don't have to be cruel in life.
There you go. Good lesson to be learned. Yeah.
You know, he said if he had to go over again, he'd take out his starters after the first quarter.
There you go. Wasn't the quote, the game just got away from us?
Yes.
Yeah. That is obnoxious. Clearly.
How hard is it to go like this?
Yeah.
And look at the scoreboard.
Yeah. No, you can't do that when you're focused. You got locked in. You got to focus. The game.
Well, when you're full court pressing the whole game.
That's unbelievable. Let's stick with obnoxious coaches for my entrant this week, and I'm going to go with Bill Belichick. It has nothing to do with Broncos because they didn't even play him. But this Deflategate thing is absolutely ridiculous. It wouldn't have impacted the game. They manhandled the Colts. They were going to win that game. They deserve to be in the Super Bowl.
Which makes it all the more troubling.
Absolutely. This is something that can't happen. This is a real problem. There's arrogance involved. Belichick thinks he's
paranoia
above everything. He thinks he's got to resort to these tactics, and maybe he didn't even make the call, but he's still the guy that has to take control of the responsibility for it and pay for it. The fact that he has an issue with Spygate in the past as another cheating scandal really makes this bad. There's been some talk about what kind of punishment there will be if this is in fact proven to be true, something that the Patriots or Belichick did. People are saying they're going to fine the organization $100,000. I read somewhere that he should be suspended for the Super Bowl. I like that a lot more. Make that guy sit at home and watch the game because that's how you pay for cheating. The other thing that you could do is take some draft picks away from them. That would hurt. That's significant.
I like that.
I think it has to be significant. I don't think if they find this out to be something that they did maliciously like that,
course they did.
Yeah, I think you have to make it a significant punishment, or the NFL runs the risk of just becoming a laughingstock, which it's kind of trending that way anyway.
I
Use
agree.
Your chance. Use your hammer.
This has to be a significant punishment. I like the idea of not coaching in the Super Bowl, but if they don't go with that, I like even more the draft choices.
I do too.
I think that'll hurt you even more. But the draft choices, and here's the penalty on Super Bowl day. Make them wear a Richard Nixon mask for the whole game, and I'm serious. Because Richard Nixon got himself in trouble by his paranoia. And how was he paranoid? All the polls showed he was just going to destroy George McGovern in the election. So that wasn't enough. He was so paranoid that he had to cheat, and he had to try to destroy George McGovern. Here, Belichick should have known they were going to destroy the Colts. But no, that wasn't enough. He's so paranoid about losing that he had to cheat to make sure that he destroyed him. Make him wear a Richard Nixon mask.
That's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be big time.
That'd be awesome in the NFL. But the NFL has no sense of humor or sense of history.
No. You know, it'd be great if they did in the corner of the screen, the game's being played, and they just had a camera on Belichick in his house wearing the Richard Nixon mask, sitting on his couch the whole time. And
give him bathroom breaks during commercials.
Well, yeah, you run commercials, he runs commercials, no harm there. But that's obnoxious. So is 161-2. But anyway, that's all the time we have. Remember, if you want to jump in with your own comments, have a question to ask, something to say, please hit us up. You can use the hashtag AskExtra on Twitter at KU Sports, or you can email Dr. Benton Smith, our resident new father behind the camera, at basmith@ljworld.com. And you can obviously do like Sean did and put your comment below this video that you're watching. Thanks for checking out KU Sports Extra, and we will talk to you next time. Sunny day or not, come back to see what color shirt this guy's wearing. See ya.